Okay, so this one, so let's see, what's the link? So there's a spec that I have up that sort of like piggybacked a couple things in here. First one was getting rid of defining backends in the default section, which we actually already merged a change to do that. So FYI, if anyone didn't see that happen.
What is that?
So if you do like a volume driver, like set it in the default section, you don't use the enabled backends stuff, we'll now log a warning saying it's deprecated. And next release, we're going to get rid of it.
So it still works, but deprecated.
Yeah, we're following like the normal like deprecation policy stuff, because it would potentially require config file changes for anyone who's using the old stupid way. So
what do you set for enabled backends if you're using the old stupid way? Just
nothing. So it works the same way it does now. Like if you have something in there and you have nothing in enabled backends, it uses defaults. If you have something in enabled backends, it ignores default. That's the behavior like
so
today.
To Okada, if you don't have enabled backends,
yeah, well, it'll be unable to load the driver. Yeah. So that's part of this. The other thing, I guess, that's kind of like holding this up was we want to add a like shared defaults kind of thing. So part of the confusion with the defaults and the enabled backends and all that is that a lot of people seem to think that something that's in defaults are like defaults, which is fair. You know, I guess jokes on So jokes on them. Doesn't do that. Yes. So sometimes where people have written code to do it. Yeah. Well, in some of the driver ones too, I've seen drivers go in, like even this release where they like do some monkeying around and check both places and do stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Drivers that look at content instead of self-type configuration.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought we eradicated all of that. Well, we should
tried.
But I think people slipped a few in there.
Yeah. So that should help with that, but then sort of the to actually get us to some place that has defaults, which would be really nice. Sort of proposing a new section, which would be backend defaults. The feedback we got, I think it was Gorka that pushed back on it, was he'd rather the default section actually work the way people think it would work. But my hesitation and the reason that I didn't just say yes and do it is I think that's going to be more confusing. I ran that past our docs person and was like, for you to document this, what's going to be easier? And they didn't even understand what I was trying to explain. So I think either way we're a little screwed, but I feel like this is less confusing.
And in Tokyo, we decided to go this route and make it explicitly a section because of that confusion.
Yeah.
I think this makes more sense, honestly, for my personal opinion, because it is specific for backends.
Right.
It is default settings for backend.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, sort of, but it's not really restricted to that.
It's not. So that's kind of the trick.
Part of why I was saying I didn't want to call it backend defaults, because I'm pretty sure that people are going to use it for things other than backend settings. That kind of sense.
But why would you do that?
So the thing is, the way I implemented this, there's code up for it that does this. The only time that you'll actually get any settings out of there is if you're using the like drivers config helper thing. So if you do like in the driver code itself, .config, whatever, it'll use the defaults. Otherwise, you have to explicitly go look at backend default section, right? So with that, we kind of make it so it's not inaccessible, but it's kind of a pain if you're not a driver to use it. I could see though, like maybe backup services or something.
Questions like max over subscription ratio, scheduler function, and why is it in the driver section?
It's always been a driver thing.
Like it's recorded from the driver.
Yeah, that's a driver one. And we have problems today of like part of why we're fixing this is because people think it's a scheduler thing, put it in default, and then have an enabled backend, and it gets ignored.
Oh yeah, I get questions about this like once a month.
Yeah, it's like
for the last couple of years.
Somehow we've made a really confusing config file.
Ever since it went in, then.
Ever since we did multi-backend.
So You guys cool with this? Should we, I mean, Gorka's not on the call. Maybe we can ask him tomorrow. But
The main concern I have is not breaking upgrade paths.
yeah.
It seems like the hard part because something you said earlier sounded like you were doing that.
So it's the normal like config deprecation thing. So for the next release, we're gonna log warning. It says, hey, we're like this is a problem. You need to change this. After that, they're gonna need to like Cinder CVol won't start up if they don't have a backend section.
So you're going to put scripts in Grenade.
Yeah, I was going to say, part of Grenade.
What?
Part of Grenade is that you can't. You just can't.
Well, but that's what the deprecation is.
Yeah, so we'll change it next release in Grenade, and then the release after when we switch it will be okay. We won't actually be removing support for it until P release.
I think you're still going to run that problem though.
Yeah.
Why?
Because at some point you're going to have a thing where when you upgrade it from version X to version Y, it's going to break.
Not if we.
Doesn't Grenade have a way to
Well, so no.
copy a new comp file?
So next release.
Yeah, the whole reason Grenade has that is to discourage you from doing that.
Right, so today, nothing in the default section is pulled into any drivers.
If you have enabled backends turned on, yeah.
And the driver doesn't monkey around.
Yeah.
The driver doesn't come around.
Yeah.
So this new section is not really gonna like.
So the thing is, in Grenade, you won't actually even notice because DevStack uses enabled backends. So that'll be okay. But so that aside, fundamentally it should break. But I'll double check. But I looked at this before, and I think what we do is change the config next release in Grenade, so that the following release, the old Grenade config works with the new one, right? So it's
Process. I mean, there's a process outline.
yeah, there's a wiki page. Yeah.
Yeah, but part of the process.
Yeah. So I think what we're doing has been like blessed by whoever controls that wiki page as a thing to do. But
So
You're
Yeah.
suggesting.
So the wiki, that was true, a little bit.
Well, it sounded like you said it would.
if you didn't have
You have to change Grenade, then it is by definition causing trouble for upgrades.
there will be, if somebody's using only the default section and they ignore the deprecation and whatever deployment tool or thing they're using to upgrade doesn't fix it for them, yes, they will try to start Cinder volume and it will give them an error that says there's no enabled drivers. The deprecation warning. So now when they start up,
the second part of that, it's just the second part of that will cause grenade problems.
second part.
I think the Grenade people are going to minus one it and say you can't do that.
Well, I don't, because it's allowed. Like this is
Yeah, I think there's still some confusion. So something you said, right now, so the first step for like, let's call it a year. I don't remember if it's 6 months or.
Yeah, something like
Let's
that.
call it a year, okay? For a year, it's just deprecated and you print a warning. And we have to support both. We support both formats and then you print, which means Grenade will still work, same as it is, no changes, everything else, blah, blah. But once we get past that deprecation phase and we've let everybody know for a year that, hey, this shit's going away and you're gonna have to change it, then we update Grenade, we update everything else, use just the new format, and the old one doesn't. That's what these guys are saying, that's gonna get.
But-
Well, I don't know. That could be
Well, but so this is kind of a hypothetical problem too, because I don't have to go make that change because Grenade doesn't use the default section, so we're okay. Like it
Yeah,
won't.
that's right.
Yeah.
I think this is following the normal process for changing config over.
What I don't understand is this,
Hmm?
this funky backend default section.
So this is sort of the giving the behavior people thought that defaults did.
So Gorka and I had a counter proposal to do this in a way that was hopefully smoother without having to rewrite that.
So yes.
Which was that you just add an option in the default section that stops, that does make the default section be defaults. And people that do installs that are new, they set true, and it works like that. And then existing installs, it doesn't change.
Yeah. So that's the part where I tried to run that past our
The problem
doc
with that is
person.
when you have one giants that are defaults for every backend. What if you have a multi-backend scenario? You want a certain set of defaults to apply to these three backends and a different set of defaults.
No, it's the same.
Works the same way.
Yeah.
But
But that stinks.
You can override the defaults in the.
Yeah.
In the standard, in the back
What is
end.
that one, two different defaults? That-
Well,
saying
then it's not a
No.
It's not a default anymore.
Yeah.
What if you want two sets of common settings that apply to more?
They're not default.
And that's not a
Default.
patch. You
Yeah,
don't write
that's another spec. I don't want to do that.
Oh.
So, I mean, so what you're talking about is more like an inheritance model for the backend.
I like the elegance
I thought
of
that's what this was.
what you were talking about, but I think it's confusing as hell that defaults true, defaults are defaults true, defaults are
We
defaults
have to
false.
give it a good name, but yeah.
But maybe you can deprecate that and at some point
Well,
defaults
yeah,
are defaults.
and see, that's the goal of that, is eventually you only have the default section.
But I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, look at like the Nova comp, right? So we intentionally break things out like libvirt defaults and, all that stuff. Because I think it makes sense to have them organized or grouped together.
But our groups are the only groups we have that were core things and driver things. We don't have,
Well,
There's a keystone section.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of sections.
but not that applies for what we're talking about. Because
But I think putting a section, an option in the options, the way the options
I know it's a mess,
Not a good
but no
option.
matter how we
No.
fix
work. Not a
it.
good option.
No,
any
it
way
just
that we fix
confuses
it is a
it.
mess, honestly.
no, I think this is actually a really good.
I like it.
I like being clear and having this section. Like,
Like
I'm
trying
not
to
opposed
explain
it,
that this
I'm
was,
just saying there were other ideas. that we
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
consider.
so I,
Yeah, but
It's nice because there's no ambiguity.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the docs, we say
There's no
backend
ambiguity.
defaults,
This is open.
Know which
those are the
options
defaults.
work there and which ones don't. That's the only ambiguity.
Well, I guess that's.
My worry is that we're gonna look at this and think they're gonna get the thing that I described. Or they're gonna ask for the thing I described.
It's fine. People can ask for features.
Like multiple sets, like.
I mean, we can,
common config option.
So I'm just curious, when looking at that, why would you, if I had add LVM to enable backends and then LVM stanza, why would you think that volume driver equals cinder volume driver is pure ice driver?
Because we actually do that in the middle, that's why. You actually have.
What?
You can actually have a config section inherit from another config section. So you can have a common set of options in a config section, multiple other config sections into it. We decided to do that.
So you're grouping things.
Is that like an Oslo config feature or just something that you guys wrote?
No, what you do is in the driver config section, you give it the name of the other config section you want to include, and it just sucks everything in. And,
So you're nesting,
yeah,
which is,
there's no reason that could be.
that could be done later.
but that's why I got confused, is because my mind immediately went to that.
I think we're a lot better off doing this than deciding.
So we're gonna do that, they got one default section and then you got default section and a hierarchical section.
The word default becomes redundant at that point.
Nesting is kind of a neat idea. I'd rather see the first step first.
Yeah, I think we
Yes.
just haven't found a strong need to do that yet.
I mean,
Well, I find the whole thing about making config files easier to edit kind of debatable, because I expect most serious users automatically generate their config files using some tool like Puppet or Ansible, and that no one's editing these things by hand anyways. I hope. I could be wrong.
I think that's what would happen. A lot of the automation tools would use this default section.
Right. The automation tools just spit out a config file that works, and you never look at it, and there's no problem. So I wonder how many people actually are in there with VI hacking on the config file, other than us as developers. We do it, but
I see it happen.
If nothing else, we could just make enable backends mandatory. I'd be happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's already happening, whether we merge the spec or not.
It's not yet, though.
I merged the change.
Oh, you did?
You merged
Oh,
the-
perfect. The deprecation of not having it, perfect.
That went pretty painlessly. I was a little surprised.
I wouldn't realize what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on the conversation we had, nobody knew what the hell that was.
Well done. Next time. Come up with me even more radical and get that through.
Does this work with sample config generation in any meaningful way?
As meaningful as the backend stuff did before.
Yeah, there won't be anything in the sample config saying backend default, right? Because
specific for your driver, what goes in the driver section, what goes in
Yeah.
the default section.
Yeah.
That would be really nice.
And it's good. I mean, I think this is probably going to shrink down the size of the default of the standard config file anyway.
But yeah, I mean, like for the example that I put in here, it definitely does. But it, sort of to the point of the deployment tools, like our Puppet module is not going to probably use this. Could, but it
Good.
So I assume that volume driver is set in the backend configuration, it overrides what's in backend.
Yep.
So it could be a both.
Yeah, it
So
is.
you could have 25 arrays that all use the same volume driver. So you just put that once in backend defaults, and one array that is completely different.
Yeah. So it'll try for the actual like enabled backend section first. If it's not there, it looks in backend defaults. And if it's not there, it looks at the Oslo config default for that property.
So it looks in default, backend default, to then pure one.
No,
No.
pure one,
Pure one
backend
first.
defaults, Oslo default.
Okay, I got it. I said it backwards.
Are we gonna consider adding anything that tells people what they put options in the backend defaults that should be there? It's not really gonna do what they want.
But it's no different than if you just write whatever option you want in the config somewhere else, right? Like,
It's not a bad idea, but that would be up to every driver.
That would be
Yeah, I don't know how we do that.
I don't think you really could. Yeah, because
Well, you could,
it would
you have to
depend on the,
classify in the code where you define the options.
yeah.
We have that problem today, though.
I know, but today it's stuck. That's why you're doing all that.
So you're saying like this with pure get on delete, we add an LVM back in, the LVM driver.
No. I was saying more if you went in backend defaults, set like some AQD that has no effect on the driver.
What happens if you just put a voting option, like food and water?
It won't start the service.
What?
It'll tell you
No,
that the
it does.
option's not defined.
I'm pretty sure it
I
starts.
think it starts.
Yeah.
It just,
Confused.
does it?
Well, it may not fit in a volume driver.
Because I've definitely seen misspelled
It'll
configs
tell you
causing
that
weird
there's no
behavior.
Option name, whatever.
Is it?
Usually, again, if I put a key in, if I put a value in, it's wrong.
Yeah.
If I put a key in, it doesn't just indicate.
It'll start if you put a crap one in the driver backend section because it'll just shut down that backend. But if you put one in the default section like that, I'm pretty sure the service won't even run.
I don't,
I'm gonna find out.
He's going to try it now.
yeah.
Well, then what Eric proposes also makes sense. We're already checking that you have no bogus keys, and you should also check that the keys are in the right sections.
It's gonna take a bit to figure out how to do that. but
Yeah.
Probably look at that after this part.
So then wouldn't that cause problems if you back in here? They didn't know what your eradicate.
Well, I'm saying, so don't set options thinking that do things.
But I'm thinking if
Well-
that does fail right now.
I don't think this changes anything as far as what fails drivers and services.
No, it'll be the same.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
Yeah.
It helps, but.
I'm sure I've tried that before just to see what things come up with.
Just say I can probably find an email from somebody asking why it didn't work right.
This doesn't really help that though. I mean, why would it? Yeah, I still think.
And then app drivers have you.
That's a whole
misspelling.
There you go.
You sound surprised.
The whole internet up bogus
I'm trying to get a reaction.
Yeah. But they have the existing standard over in like bar.
No, it's not barking though. It's not barking.
So if you try to use a config option that's not like defined somewhere, you get in trouble.
Then it-
But
You can put how you like in there.
Yeah,
It'll work.
and it's possible that that was a change in Oslo config or something at some point.
The newer Oslo. Or maybe maybe I had something, a typo in my
Like in
big option itself, it didn't matter, so that's where.
How much of this have you coded?
oh, it's done. It's ready to go. But you can go see the example. I've got an example of the one that you and Gorka proposed too. It sits on top of it.
I'm really excited to get this.
Screw it.
Oop, bring that back a minute, sure. He was just asking a question about it.
Yeah. 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 Anything that you would put like in, if you were using the enabled backends and you didn't have this default section, anything that would be in your like driver section can go in there.
So, what about backup drivers and stuff?
Yeah. So they wouldn't have access to this with their like self.config thing. Honestly, I don't
I mean, do we need
really
to
mess
do
with them.
something like this for backup too, or does it not? I don't really know.
So if we give them the helper method thing that does it for the self.config stuff, it'll just they can do it if they want. I don't know if we
Also,
want to do that or.
In the cases where the backup service loads the volume driver, is it going to read that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't test that.
Well, then the driver would get loaded and the driver would read the config.
What was the
Well,
question?
no, because the config is kind of assembled before the driver.
It's the manager gives it the config.
It means the backup manager has to do this the right way.
So if the backup manager,
Manager loads the driver that way.
Yeah, it does somewhere. Right. Which means the backup manager has to know how to do something. Which it might magically do already or not, I don't know.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now to see where it loads the driver config.
It's not about the backup driver, the backup manager has to read that section. And I don't know if that happens or not. It might happen, I don't know.
Does anyone know what self.volume managers is on the backup thing? Backup manager? Are those actual volume managers? Yeah. Oh. If it's a regular like Cinder volume manager, then it'll use this. So it'll be okay. Okay. Ship it.
I'll be sure to review this.
Done?
Done.
Done.
Truly.
What
Dinner
time?
plans?
I put a link in the